There is something that happens every single time the car community gets a car that they want. For example, the Cadillac CTS-V wagon is probably one of the most underrated and sought after American wagons with all of the power that you can potentially think about. But what really happens is that at some point within a couple of years, the manufacturer pulls that car back. Now, that doesn't mean that the car wasn't good, that it wasn't amazing, and that it wasn't an enthusiast dream. But what actually happens, or what happens in a lot of cases, is that these cars don't sell because they're too much for sale. What do I mean by that? I'm talking about dealer markups. Back in 2020 to 2022, we saw an absurd amount of people paying over sticker for their cars. And this is just for the run-of-the-mill A to B transportation. That does not include the hype surrounding a particular release or a launch of a particular car that the car community has absolutely salivated over. And in this video, I want to take a deep dive into how dealer markups ruin good cars, because I don't think it's fair. With that being said, stick around and stay tuned, because you are now watching The Breakdown. The thing is that whenever the car community asks for a car, it always appears as though we never buy it. And I'm here to dispel that myth. Dealer markups don't start off as dealer markups. What usually happens is that the car maker typically assesses the market. They understand what consumers want based on either current model or an outgoing model. They make adjustments, designs, they fall within regulations and compliance. They develop the car, send it off to the supplier, and what ends up happening is that they make a really good car once it has been finalized and approved by the design team. Once that happens, based on sales in the previous 12 months, year over year, the sales team at the manufacturer makes a particular allocation that distributes to each and every dealer based on a particular order, which is given by the sales reps. Once the sales reps sell to the dealers buy in what's called bulk, and they order a certain amount of cars and they buy them so that they can retail them and resell them off to you. When you see MSRP, that is manufacturer suggested retail price. And what this says is that the manufacturer is suggesting that the retailer sell that car at that particular price for the consumer to make it affordable, but also reasonable and potentially profitable for the dealership. Here's where we mess up. Anytime there is a particular hype around a car, there is always going to be a dealership that is going to exploit that. And all dealers aren't bad. Let me be very clear. There are a lot of great dealers that are willing to give you a lot of great deals for the sake of customer satisfaction. But every now and then, there is a bulk or group of dealers that will often exploit the idea of hype around a car. For example, when the Ford Focus came out back in 2016, there were many people who absolutely wanted that car. The problem is although it was priced around an MSRP of $36,000 to remain competitive with the incoming Honda Civic Type R, which was its main competition at the time, and the Volkswagen Golf R, which was roughly priced around $40,000. Many dealers often exploited the idea that a Ford Focus with an all-wheel drive setup and an amazing turbocharged engine that pretty much was a Type R and Volkswagen R killer. Many dealerships exploited that, and a lot of the transaction prices sold for roughly $42,000. Even before taxes and fees, that is a $6,000 markup. And it's not uncommon for many dealers to sell a car for $2,000 to $3,000 above sticker. But where we got ridiculous was during the pandemic, it was not uncommon for many dealerships to sell their cars for $5,000 to $10,000 for the sake of supply chain constraints. And what ends up happening is that many dealers over time get less and less sales and eventually have to take their losses anyway, or they have some dummy that pays it and they have to make the markup maybe $10,000 to $20,000 more so that they can make up the cost for the markup that they would have put on the car. What makes it interesting is that none of that profit is seen by the manufacturer. In fact, almost all of that profit is seen by the dealer, and a lot of it doesn't even go to the salesperson. So what happens is that as we continue to pay for these exorbitant prices, let's say for example the RAV4 Prime, where people were paying upwards of $50,000 to $60,000 over sticker, it usually leads to poor sales from a manufacturer standpoint. Whenever these manufacturers look back at these spreadsheets and take a look at what sold and what didn't at their year-end report, they oftentimes look at the viability and the plausibility of creating these cars that the car community can enjoy at a reasonable price. But if it does not sell, then essentially the car manufacturer has lost money on that, which in tandem causes the dealership to lose further allocations. Ultimately, not only do consumers pay on the front end, but they also pay on the back end once the car is discontinued and now has to hold its value for the people that paid that much money for it, and it becomes essentially a collector's item. At that point, it is completely out of the manufacturer's control and the dealership's control, because they are only selling it for what the market is requiring. Because of this, once it hits the used car market, now you have many people that are essentially selling their cars way above what they paid for the sake of exclusivity. This exclusivity factor is what drives the phenomenon behind good cars essentially being ruined, because once they're discontinued, there is an unlikelihood that the manufacturer will bring it back for the next 10 to 15 to 30 years. There is a reason why the Volkswagen GTI has sold at the price that it has, because it is affordable to the same degree of the Civic Si, unlike those various cars such as the Golf R, such as the Focus RS, such as the Hellcat, which of course is a major hit, but on the resale side, it is absolutely astronomical what those cars are going for. And this is driven purely by the idea that more people pay more for them than what they're worth. And some are going to say in the comment section that you should never overpay for what a car is worth. But the thing is, in pure economics, once a car is in high demand and low supply, you can expect there's always going to be somebody who's going to pay it. There's always one dummy that's going to do it. And the longer we continue to pay for these cars will be the longer we continue to run into the issue of overpriced collector's cars, because once the car manufacturer decides that they are no longer going to supply this car and they're going to focus on the mass market vehicles, they see it as a loss, and in tandem we in turn lose good cars. Because of this essentially drives a note that car companies do not care about the car community, which couldn't be further from the truth. The only thing that the car maker cares about is the car selling. That's at the end of the day all they care about. But in truth, what really happens is that we as the car community drive up the hype around a car, and once dealers get wind of this, essentially they know that we are going to be forced to pay for the premium of saying that we have said exclusive car. And exclusivity within the car community is just as toxic and paralleled as the sneaker community, as you are cooler and clout points go up through the roof the second you have something that everybody does not have. There is a reason why more and more people have paid over sticker and overpriced for the Dodge Challengers and Chargers and the Ford Mustangs and all of these different cars, and even the Jeeps and the Wranglers and things of that sort, because of the clout points that it drives home. And the clout points are what the dealership exploits. With that being said, I'm very curious to hear you guys' ideas on dealer markups. I know a lot of you are going to say you would never pay that, but somebody's clearly buying it, because evidently the Civic Type R still has not dropped in price. The Integra Type S has not dropped in price. The Challengers are going to go through the roof because they just got discontinued for at least for now anyway. So I'd be very curious to hear you guys' opinion on dealer markups and how they absolutely ruin good cars. With that being said, until the next video, I will see you guys later.